All right, welcome everyone back to the Cancel for Maintenance podcast. If this is your first time joining us, we are a show that takes a behind-the-scenes look into the gritty, non-glamorous life of aircraft maintenance. We share some laughs, impart some wisdom, all in hopes of giving you that split seconds relief in your day that would hopefully prevent a mishap. I am your co-host, Six.
I'm MVP.
And our third host, Mr. Shoreline, is once again monitoring us remotely today, making sure our audio is good to go and our faces stay fit for radio. So we're kind of tying off from our last episode, going about the High Healy Expo, and day one was just mind-blowing and awesome. And as we're perusing around and we're kind of recollecting on a bunch, we're kind of seeing like the best of aviation, let's say, like the best image possible of aviation. Like this is like what happens when everything goes right. These are our best innovative materials, etc., etc.
Yeah, everything's shiny and polished, to the furniture they brought, to the assets and equipment they've brought, to the people.
Yes.
Everybody in, I'll say, business to business casual. You could definitely tell who the maintainers were of the group, because let's face it, even though we were churched up, I'll say, you could still tell we were maintainers there, with a polo and pants. But we ran into guys who were in shorts and their literal work boots. Like they had just came off the working overnight on the line to come to the convention. Not dogging on them, but I mean, you could tell who we were. But you could also tell with the stuff we were looking at, and when you were looking around at other people, right up on the equipment, looking at the individual components and specialized aspects of it, and like how you would install that new piece of equipment versus hearing the people in the suits just talking about the specs, right? Yep. Almost seems like they were marketing, sales, something or other, and they're like, yeah, this is the latest and greatest and blah, blah, blah. But us maintainers were like, yeah, but the way you have this screw in the back look like it's going to be a real pain in the ass to install this thing. Damn it. Why would you do that?
Yep. And I think one example we were talking about, we were kind of laughing about it when we finally started to talk to the exhibitors, was we saw this helicopter with 3 different cameras on this thing. And we're like, why does it need 3 cameras?
Right.
Like, how much are you, when you said 360 degrees of awareness, you guys weren't kidding around, right? Because
what are we looking at with all this?
Right. And then we see a bunch of guys in suits, like real C-suite executive dress types. And they're just like seeing it. They were like pretty much accepting it as face value. They're like, oh, that's pretty neat. And then we get to talking to some of the mechanics like, oh, no, this isn't a full outfit. This is really just demonstrating like how much weight this thing can manage.
Well, it was more of like configuration. You can put it here, or here.
Yes.
So
like, oh, okay. That makes way more sense. And this kind of started sparking a conversation with MVP and I about like how like some individuals, regardless of their actual job or where they work at, but they'll put off this image like they're actually there to be an expert or conduct business or something to the effect that's totally out of the scope of what they actually do. And we have found this as an opportune time to kind of explain about that, like how, like,
so any of you who've been in a convention center, you'll notice that on all levels and in many places, there's just random benches and chairs and tables set up all over the place. And I've always kind of thought, why are there this many benches, tables, and chairs? I've only been in a convention center for like one specific thing, and it was never a convention.
Yep.
Never, So you say, well, MVP, why were you in the convention center? I don't know. A much smaller venue that wasn't thousands of people, I can tell you that.
Right.
But on all levels, there were people on their phones, talking loud, on their computers, clacking away. People at the booths, like at vendor booths, like talking on the phone loud. People are coming by, but they're not really interacting because they're on the phone. And it makes me think, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, if you're here at the convention to intake all this stuff, what are you doing now? Are you collecting notes and this, that, and you have to real time email them back to your boss, who is the editor of a aerospace magazine? Are you in sales and say, hey, we need to reach out to this person, this group immediately because they can provide this service and I think we can work a deal out. We need to buy, sell, trade helicopters on the Wall Street today. I don't know, but it was very interesting to just go, what are all of you doing? Because it just appeared that like you were there, but like we walked past, I remember walking past the same person for several hours and they hadn't moved from their computer. And I was like, geez, what's going on? So, and I had kind of this realization maybe a week or more ago, and I had talked to Six a little bit about it, but I figured I'd talk to it on here. Business, at least how it's portrayed, is that you're on the phone constantly, you're on your computer, you're spread as thin as possible, you're running in 10 different directions at 100 miles an hour. And if you're not doing that, you're not doing business. And so my thought is, well, why?
Yeah.
Why is that? Is that because of I just don't know business and that's how it's done? Or is it because, to tie that in with hope is not a strategy, you decided to sit around and do nothing for 3 months and now all of a sudden it's coming due and you've got to get a proposal or something together? I don't know, but it just seems like if you're not running at 100 all the time, you're not doing business. And that just doesn't seem right to me. Now, anybody out there who's way higher in a corporate realm than I, who understands business, please reach out to us and let us know, because it seems to me that it shouldn't be that way. Like, it should just be some emails back and forth, some phone calls, but it shouldn't be me walking around a convention of 10,000 people yelling on my phone as loud as possible at God knows whoever on the other end.
Right. And I think that also gives me a realization too of like, we have a certain generation of individuals who are still stuck on this mindset. Well, maybe not just a generation, but a good chunk of individuals who feel very strongly that if you're not present at work, then you're not presently working. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or like, say, like you could be at work doing fuck all, like pretty much nothing, but you're at work, so all is well in life. But say like you're in this situation where you have to go home, or you're working from home, or whatever the case may be. It's like a freaking tragedy. You know what I mean? Like you're really destroying company time. Or it's like, are you even working? And I feel this is mostly for people with remote jobs, like obviously not mechanics, but maybe more along the lines like analysts or managerial level individuals. But
yeah, but even for mechanics, right? You spend enough time out on the road, even though they know you're out on the road working, leadership can't physically see you. So they just think you're out there
doing fuck all, right?
Doing fuck all. And I'll use my recent trip that I did back in January to Florida for 3 weeks. And even though I was working 12 hours a day and going back to the hotel and logging in on the computer and putting in more hours, the perception was, if you want to take your computer, just head over to the beach. Or I know you guys are probably just fucking around on the beach, having a good time and drinking and stuff. And it's like, what do you think I'm out here doing, homie? Yeah. I'm working 12 hours a day and then I'm logging in on the computer and still answering stuff. But I think it's that because they can't physically see you. You're just dicking around on company time.
Right.
But like Six, I have the opportunity to work from home every so often, maybe not all day, every day, but like maybe I can, a couple times a week, I can head out early and finish the day from the house or whatever.
Yep.
And I really appreciate that flexibility. But I am of the mindset, and I am of the type, I am more productive when I'm working from home than when I'm at the office. And why is that? There's less distractions. Well, this older generation is like, no, I could never work from home. There's too many distractions. Sounds like you just can't focus, No, because the TV's right there, and then I'll get sidetracked watching something on TV. That sounds like it's a you problem, and because you refuse to fix your old ass, everybody else has to modify themselves to how you want to work.
Right.
And that is, I have to seclude myself from any minor distraction because I can't be trusted to focus on a task. Now, with that said, so I could get more done in 2 hours working from home than I probably could in 6 hours being at the office. But again, because there's lack of distraction for me. But those same people are like, no, if you're not here, you're not actually working. But those same people are 2/3 of the day are fucking jaw jacking and doing bullshit, you know?
Yep.
Like, but I'm here, so I'm working. No, you are legitimately wasting company time on company property. Like,
yeah.
Fix yourself.
There was a saying I remember somebody mentioned. I can't remember fully how it went, but it was more like you are at work, but are you working? Right?
Yeah.
Or how you're at work for 8 hours a day, but how many hours of work did you actually do?
Right. And that's where I like to do for my team, where it's like, hey, I got all my shit done. Like, can I finish the day at the house? Yeah. Like, we've already got more done than I was expecting we would get done today. So if you want to finish your stuff there. And you can even check, like, you log on to that network and you can see that, oh yeah, they're there working. Hey, how's it going? Need any help from me?
Right.
No, all good. Just plugging away at this process or whatever, you know?
Right.
Great. Fantastic. But,
yeah. No, I can appreciate that there's some individuals that are really just that squirrel brain. Like, I can get that way too, where like I see something and I don't instantly get drawn into it, kind of like a TV. But again, like as MVP said, like, you can't expect that for yourself and just assume that that's the same for everybody else. Now, has there been some people who have used and abused that? Absolutely.
definitely.
Absolutely, right? And I think that's the real fear when they think of it that way. But you can't just readily assume that, right? You kind of have to like judge the person or at least evaluate the person. Like, okay, this person looks like he or she is the type that's not going to just gaff off and do 30 minutes of work in a 9-hour period, right? From home, right? Or even on the job. Because we've seen that too for mechs. Like, we probably have done it ourselves too, where you're given a task and it's either a really slow day or a really fast paced day, but you don't want to do it. So you would kind of lead foot your way through it, like just really drag yourself and make a 30-minute job take 2 hours or whatever the case. Pretty much like hiding out, right? And we see this especially with senior mechanics who feel they're too good for life, that they'll just hang out in the level 5 tent or whatever it's called, that the unspoken senior mechs club, just chill out in. And they say like, well, I'm too senior to do that. Or I'm too, I've been doing this for too long, I don't need to do it a second more, or something like that.
Right.
And this kind of tied into that one session we talked about in the previous episode where they say like bad decision with good outcomes. And it also talked about like how people take shortcuts, right? And in those shortcuts, once they learn how to do a certain shortcut, it's next to impossible for them to unlearn it. And that really struck out for me. And I saw a whole lot of negatives from that, because how many times we as mechs, I'm going off on a tangent here, but how often as we as mechs, we get say like, well, this is the right way to do it, but let me show you how it works, right? Or I'm not supposed to do it this way, but here's how we do it. And it's one of those, like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Mm-hmm. And then bad decision, good outcome, you start thinking, okay, this is air quotes bad, but
nothing bad has happened.
Yeah.
You know? And
so you teach yourself to keep doing it. And then when someone finally pushes you in on it, now you're all uppity and defensive about it. And this kind of ties back a little bit to how you present yourself with that image. Like, if you're looking like the type who's trying to push that you understand something, or you're doing business of something of a different caliber than what you're actually doing, then that teaches you to continue doing that, even though you aren't doing it the way you're supposed to, and you perceive it as right.
Yeah, it's just because reality or karma or whatever you want to call it hasn't, or Murphy's Law hasn't bitten you yet.
Right.
But it's coming.
Oh yes. And we said this again in the last episode, just talking about the High Healy Expo, where we feel like some individuals have really misinterpreted Murphy's Law, where like when they say like, well, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. No, it's and 9 out of 10 times you're doing something bad, but nothing bad happened. That doesn't mean it's good. That just means you've done it wrong 9 times, and you're rolling the dice to see if that 10th time is going to be good or bad. Which, what goes around comes around. It's going to get you bad.
Right, and then that ties back in with the whole what we started off talking about with the business aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm running all these different directions, so I must be doing something right. It seems to me like you're just wheel spinning and not gaining any ground. So okay, you look shiny and you have a fancy suit on, but what's your work output?
Yes.
Whereas I'm not dressed as nice as you, but if I'm outputting 100% every day, but I don't look as nice, right? But I look nice over here, and I can say good words, and I can speak plainly and clearly, and I can say all these niceties, and I look nice while doing it. But I see through the bullshit on that. I'm like, all right, so you're a polished turd,
yeah,
you don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
That ties in with the people. Oh, if you're not at work, you're not doing anything. Okay, well, show me what you've accomplished. You must have gotten so much done today by being here at the office all day. So show me all that you've got done. Oh, okay, you got 3 things done. That's crazy. I was here for 4 hours and I finished the day at the house, and I've gotten 8 things done.
Mm-hmm.
But you look nicer. But I showed up and I dressed nice to do it. I can see through that, but it seems to me that that's what is accepted or what is required or normal. Maybe that ties in with well, we've always done it this way. I've always been a useless piece of shit, but I put on a nice suit, and that's all that matters is I have to look the part, not about actual resolve or resolution or outcomes or just accomplishments,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think in that sense, right? Because we get mentioned this a lot, like look the part you want to be, right? Or dress to the part you want to be. I feel yes, but there's 3 parts to this total, right? Looking the part for sure, that's step 1, right? And then hopefully in looking the part, it leads you to step 2, which is feeling the part, right? Okay. And then once you feel the part, once you've passed steps 1 and 2, looking and feeling the part, hopefully in end goal status lead to step 3, which is acting or being the part, right? So like not only you look like you know what you're doing, you feel like you know what you're doing, and maybe someday, God help you, you will actually act like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or in simplest terms, right? Like as MVP said, like if you're gonna make the image, at least have the substance to back it up, right?
Right, because if you're sitting up on a stage and you're saying I'm the VP of whatever, and you're just saying words but nothing of substance. You didn't answer my question. My question to you was, how are we expected to meet this scheduled this flight schedule when we don't have the proper equipment to handle X amount of aircraft? Mm-hmm. We have 1 serviceable unit across 10 aircraft, and 8 of them are flying tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2 that are in maintenance also need that 1 piece of equipment. So my question to you, VP, was, what are we doing to get more equipment to meet this schedule that you're imposing upon us?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I keep operating this way, I'm going to damage that myself, that piece of equipment, or the aircraft, or somebody else, Yep. And they go up there and it's like, yeah, but you guys are really the backbone of the company, and you're doing all these things, and without you, we'd be nothing. Yeah, bitch, I know you'd be nothing without me. But help me. Like, what are you say your business? What are you businessing then?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm generating new business and revenue and profits. Great. Can we take some of the supposed profits you generated and buy some equipment?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing with it?
Yeah.
And I know there's way more to it, bills to pay and you got to spend money to make money and whatever. And R&D takes a lot of revenue off the top and profits. But at some point, like humor me. I'm an ignorant mechanic. Humor me, Mr. Businessman, because all I see is you is running from one end of the facility to the other and never here. You're always at some offsite meeting. And when you are here, I see you with a cell phone in your hand, or you're sitting at a laptop in the corner and you're just too busy to talk to anybody. So humor me and tell me what your business is, because I'm not seeing the results of all the efforts you're putting in.
Right.
Oh, well, you are seeing it because you get a paycheck every month.
Is it though?
You know what I mean? Like, you're required for that to happen. So come hell or high water,
Yeah. And again, this is not to say that we're bashing the people who dress that way, you know what I mean? Or people who, or, you have to look a certain way to be perceived a certain image. Not at all. But what we're saying is, like, if you're going to go through the trouble of looking the part, at least contribute, at least have the substance to back it up and contribute in some way, besides just being seen as the one who just stops his feet on the floor. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's many times when you see chief executives or something like that, like, come to the floor, which is like rare in of itself as mechanics. We as a mech, we're not going to care what you dress like. We're going to care about what you actually provide for, right? Do you take our concerns for action? Do you try to find the resources to make it happen? Are you trying to streamline whatever service or whatever so it's easier or safer? Because sometimes easier does not mean safer, and vice versa. To get the job done and get it done right. Because if all you are is just lip service, and we're having to redline our performance, like just 100 miles an hour all the time, every time, you're eventually gonna we're gonna induce fatigue in all the wrong ways.
Well, we're running on hope at that point.
Yes.
We hope that we're not going to hit the wall at 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
And we've put no effort into contingency planning. So at some point, Murphy's Law, right? We're smacking that wall at 100.
Yep.
But maybe we should put some parachutes on the car, or redo the brake system in the interim, like put new brakes on it, or maybe we should like put padding on the wall, or remove the wall altogether. Like, I don't know.
Something,
Should we do something? And you're like, no. This is going to work. It's going to work. It has to work. Well, yeah, it has to work. It's our own. It's the only thing it's the only thing I'm air quoting here, planned for.
Yep.
But it's the only thing you strategized.
Yeah. It's that all or nothing mentality, that kind of really just perpetuates the BS, so to speak,
Yeah. It's and back to the addressing how for the part, we spoke with an individual today. He was the chief of operations.
Yeah.
And we spoke to the CEO.
Yep.
So COO and the CEO.
Yep.
The CEO had on a black button-up shirt and jeans. The COO was in jeans and a t-shirt. And they were just as successful as probably the rest of the vendors there, if not more than some.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did they know the business side of it, they knew how to plan, and they knew the substance of the job, but they knew how to capitalize on that and build that business. And I'm sure they probably, thinking about this, they probably tried to approach some of those people in suits to discuss business or whatever. And those people in suits are like, who are you? Who are you in your Levi jeans and your New Balance tennis shoes? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that guy's like, I'm only the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company that I started from nothing. So what do I know? You know what I mean? But that, again, I'm shitting on the people in the suits, but it's the persona. There were so many people that not even at this expo that I see in my own work centers every day. And I'm like, you're wearing a fancy suit. What the fuck do you do though?
Yeah.
Like, well, I wear a polo and pants to work every day. And I'm in management, right? But I still go out on the floor and I still have to go look for things and audit things in different locations or whatever, I'm not wearing a suit jacket and a tie to go rifling through somebody's bullshit in some work center. I'm just in 115-degree heat. I'm not doing it. I'm going to dress for the job that I need to, that I am doing. And again, I think so much, and many of us as maintainers know it, we're judged by how we're looked, but not by the level of work that we're outputting. We're providing quality back. We're providing a tangible product back to you. We've given it back to you better than we received it. But because we're wearing overalls, we're just looked down upon. And, I wish we could change that persona. Look at Japan, for example. You and I have talked about this. Almost every job there, whether you're a convenience store attendant or the CEO, a salaryman as they call it, but a CEO of some big company, each job is respected by all because it's deemed a necessary part of society. And even your skilled crafts trades workers, a woodworker, the person who raises Wagyu beef, people who make ink or sushi, whatever, it's like they are all deemed very, very highly skilled jobs, and you're expected to be a master in whatever your job is. And I wish we could, here in the States, I wish we could get back to that, where us who are in the blue collar realm of it, right? Maintainers, whatever else, be it auto mechanics, Marines, a woodworker, a mason, and have that respect. When somebody says, "Oh, you're a stonemason." Oh, wow, that's amazing. Like, where did you learn your craft at? Where did you, in Japan, they have schools. Like here we call them vocational schools, but they're not high school level, I guess, is what you get.
Yeah.
But in Japan, they'll have whole universities, like a whole specialized college degree to be a stonemason. At least from some of the stuff that I've read, watched, and researched. Like there was they're a comic artist. And I know they have art schools and everything else, but they like a full-on degree program. There was another person who, she was what's the traditional dress that the women there wear? Like kimonos, but like they paint their faces white and they entertain. They own like bar, almost like a karaoke bar, but they entertain and they interact with the crowd.
Yeah.
They're the owner, but they're like the host too,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but the word is skipping me at this present moment. I know I'm failing everybody, but
a geisha or something like that.
It might be,
but there's whole specialized fields to become a master in that particular aspect. And you're not looked down upon because you do that. It's a necessary part of society. And going into the Warhammer realm, right?
Yeah.
Talking about the Eldar species in the past of the Eldar after the birth of Slaanesh, and the Dark Eldar basically burned up into oblivion, their souls devoured. The Eldar that remained, you choose these paths to occupy your mind so you don't fall to ruin. But like, you're expected, you're given the choice. Choose what you want to do. Okay, you want to be the path of the warrior. Great. You are going to study for however long it takes to become deemed the title master of that trade. Okay, so now you've been deemed a master of that. Now you get to choose another one. You're choose what you want, but now you're going to be expected to achieve a mastery level that while maintaining the mastery level of the first one you did. Right? Is all that kind of stuff. So what I'm saying, I guess they say dress for the part you want, but I don't think I don't think so much emphasis should be played on that.
Yeah.
Because I know people who wear basketball shorts, t-shirt every day, and flip-flops with a high school education who are more successful than people I work for.
Yeah. And I think this is a stab to, I wouldn't say a stab, but it's also an emphasis on people in the military as well, because it's always emphasized like, hey, you need to look sharp. Sharp equals discipline. Discipline equals like courage under pressure or something like that, right?
Right.
There's probably a better way of wording, but they kind of relate to that, right? Like your appearance is a demonstration of your discipline. Your discipline is a demonstration of how you will act under pressure, etc.
But I think that needs to be, sorry to cut you off, but I think that needs to be tailored or modified to look sharp doing your job, but for what your job is.
Yep.
If I'm a mechanic and you're telling me the way I can look sharp is to wear a suit, that's a bit asinine. Why am I going to wear a 3-piece suit to crawl into the hellhole and fix a hydraulic component?
Yep.
We're just, that's unrealistic. Or why am I going to be a farmer raising Wagyu beef, but expected to wear a 3-piece suit while taking and fancy shoes while taking care of cattle? Like, I think that statement of looking sharp needs to be, what that looks like is dependent upon the job you're doing, and that needs to be understood across all realms and all industries, right?
Yep.
So if Six is wearing a nice polo shirt right now and tan pants, right? To me, he looks very professional. If I see him on the line working on my private jet, I'm going to be pleased about who's working, because he's looking the part for the job he's doing. In fact, he might even be overdressed to a certain degree. But if I see him wearing that and he's and I see him on Wall Street, I might go, I don't know if I want this guy trading my stock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's maybe a bad example, but it needs to be understood. Looking the part and looking professional in that part is different depending on the job you're doing. Right.
And then again, it's like it's one thing to put an image, it's another thing to front, right? Like you're trying to put off something that you're not. And I think that's a big one that we're having issues with. And going back to what I was saying about the military, like you'll have some individuals who do everything in their power to look super crisp, right? Because it appears is a demonstration of discipline, et cetera, et cetera. But you'll have ones that look super crisp, but do next to fucking nothing. And regardless of what their job was, right? So, but in their mind, they're thinking like, well, if the people who are important see me looking good, then they'll think I am good and volunteer me to do or give me increases of responsibility and other things, right? Fail upwards, as Max has put it, right? Yep. It's one of those like, you're stupid or you're not that great at your job, but the easiest way to get rid of you is to just promote you up or promote you
to
upward.
The point of failure. Yeah.
And we've talked about those in previous episodes, so please by all means check those out. And as MVP said, like, like the dress to impress should come with some context, because if you're just putting up a front, just a front, then the substance will demonstrate and we'll know you're just full of shit.
Yeah. So if I walk out on the line as the owner of the aircraft and I see Six working on my aircraft, and I go, hey, and I knew I had a fuel control issue on landing. And I go, hey, how's the fuel control on number 2? And he goes, fuel control? What? I got some follow-on questions. Are you not working that issue? What do you mean fuel control? What's a fuel control? Or what's a rudder? Or what's those are very extreme examples, but it's like, why are you touching my aircraft? And who hired you to come out here and fix this thing? And vice versa. You see Fortune 100, 500 companies fail because the CFO couldn't properly manage funding. If I go talk to the CFO of a multinational corporation and I ask about the rate of trading between Tokyo and Wall Street and Brazil, and what's the best route to take funding so we get the minimal amount of taxes taken out and the max amount of return on our trading investment. And he says, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to expect my company to shut its doors very soon. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So again, to tie in with Six's substance, like, okay, look the part. But more than looking the part, I want you to know the part. Like,
yes.
I'm dependent upon you to do your job right, so that I can have a job and do my job, and we can continue long-term sustain this operation.
Yes.
Same thing if Six is working on my plane, I want him to know what the fuel control is, so I can sleep at night knowing when I get on that plane the next morning that the chances of it having catastrophic issues in flight are slim to none.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head on that one. Again, we're not bashing on how you look. There just has to be some context to it, and just realize, like, depending on who your audience is or depending on what you're doing, we care more about your substance and how you bring it to the table versus how you present that you look at. Context, framing has a lot, and it deals a lot with your decision making skills. But just because you framed it as one way or the other doesn't mean the outcome's going to be better or worse. You know what I mean?
Right. And so let me use one more example here.
Yep.
And I'll use it from my current realm, which is quality.
Yep.
So we having, whatever you want to say, a issue with parts and components getting damaged in shipping. Some of them were not packaged properly by us, meaning the company. Some were damaged by the shipping company that we are doing business with. You name one of the big three, and sure, it's one of them, but I'm not going to give the name, you know. But by them, their negligence and mishandling of our palletized material. Anyways, so the deputy director for mission assurance, she says, we have a meeting. So myself, my boss, one of the analysts, and this deputy, the new operations and sustainment manager for QA, and then the deputy director of QA. And so the ONS person, my boss, me, and the analyst, we're all discussing for about an hour. Hey, here's these issues. Here's what we found. We're relaying information, what we found for our investigation, they to us. And we're collaborating and formulating a plan of how best to get this resolved in a timely manner, so we can forego having any further issues. And the deputy director's sitting there the whole time. And look, guys, you've been doing a lot of talking for the last hour, and all I know is we just need to stop damaging stuff in shipping. And like when I tell you, you know the record scratch moment when like it just silences a room, and we all stop talking, and we kind of looked at each other. My boss looked at me like, I didn't just hear that. I know I didn't hear that. It's crazy talk. Like what a stupid thing to say. And I turned to the deputy and I was like, yep, got it. Definitely want to stop doing that, which is what we've been talking about. She goes, I don't know how we're going to do this or whatever. We just need to stop doing it now. Why are you here? Yeah. So that's the part. That's one individual who very much knows how to dress the part and has absolute zero substance and anything of value to add. Mm-hmm. But they're in that position because they look good. So people, a lot of you might say, okay, MVP, that was a long conversation to say, the hell with it then. All I have to do, I don't need to know anything. I just need to look the part and I'll be good to go. Sure, I guess, but that's only going to last so long.
Yeah, and you're definitely playing the Murphy's Law on that one. Like, yeah, you're doing something bad and you're rolling the dice. And thus far...
Yeah, and so talking about Murphy's Law, right? So then I told you about that can I say the 4-letter thing, that acronym for the inspector side for that level 3? Can I say those 4 letters here or no?
I don't know. Probably, maybe not.
All right. So there's a So,
are you talking about Pear?
That same deputy director, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's putting all this stuff on us and providing nothing of value. Murphy's Law is coming to pass now because the production side that is her realm to cover
mm-hmm.
had an issue with electrical stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And to the point where the VP came out with a statement saying, "You'll fix yourself and you'll fix yourself now."
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Oh, here's what we're going to do." And they had more issues to the point where the customer came back in and said, "You know what? Shut it down. Shut it down. Here's a level 3 corrective action from the customer. By the way, we're sending in a federal audit team to look at all this stuff."
Wow.
So now guess who's going to have to sit in front of those federal auditors and answer questions? Yield, we just need to stop damaging stuff.
Oh, well,
good fucking luck to you, Jack.
Right.
And I hope they destroy you.
That's a very good strategic point, but having a strategic objective doesn't mean it's going to map out the step-by-step tactical plan, right? It's definitely needed. Like, hey, we need to stop breaking shit. Cool. How do we achieve that?
Right. Which is all that we had just talked about for an hour. Like, were you not listening?
Yeah. Like, we're here to map out the step-by-step. You gave us the strategic vision. Great. But here's how we're going to make that happen. And if you don't want to hear, you just want to hear the strategic point, then you've missed out the entirety of the conversation. And to your point,
yeah, you wasted your time and mine.
Yeah.
And I'm more mad about mine.
Yeah. And to your point, like, now you just warranted a federal investigation, which, have fun with that. And I hope you have a whole lot of filler to kind of bridge the gap between what you strategically said we have to do and what you actually did.
Right. Yeah. I think the whole time we were talking about resolutions, she was sitting there like Homer Simpson with the monkey banging the cymbals. You know, when they pan into Homer's head and it's just psh, psh,
Yeah.
psh. That's what she heard for a whole hour. And when we finally sort of slowed down the conversation, she found that was the prime opportunity to interject her well thought out response. What a joke.
What it is, man. So any final thoughts on anything, Mr. MVP?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to hear from you guys if you have more experience in the business realm than I do, or if you don't, but your boss does, and they're willing to impart some wisdom to me, educate me, teach me why it seems like it's running and gunning all the time versus methodical, well thought out, time and place for everything. Nothing's over the top. I understand schedule shift and things happen, but for it to be a constant, at least from my perspective, seems a bit much and lack of planning. So please educate me. That's what I ask.
Yes. And likewise, like if some of the stuff we said, if we're misunderstanding a certain amount of things, like the running and gunning is just because the workload stacks on top of each other. We just caught you at a bad time. I don't know. Please let us know as well. You know, like we don't want it to just be a bash session and we're just completely in the wrong. We definitely want to know where the gaps in knowledge is, as MVP said. Or what do you guys think? Like, do you find some more individuals who more so like to put off an image than put off the substance? Are we having the interpretation the wrong way? Or do you feel that some people rather just put on a show than they actually show out? If that makes any sort of sense. Hey, let us know in the comments, our social medias, email, website, whichever is easiest for you. The absolute best way to get a hold of us and have these kind of conversations with us is via our Discord channel on Patreon. Once again, we have these kind of conversations. We learn so much from everybody and some of y'all's feedback. The feedback part is clearly our favorite part because it gives us an opportunity to learn stuff, and then whatever we do find out, we disseminate to you guys so we can continue this continuous improvement loop of ours. On that note, hey, we appreciate you all again for listening, and we'll see you all on the next one. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
We would like to take this time to thank our patrons for supporting our show and allowing us to make episodes, maintain our gear, and create merch for all of our listeners. With special thanks to Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Eric Shaw, Dan Schubert, Ryan Frushauer, Kyle Keir, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockhill, and Jennifer Brofer. Thank you all so much for your support and patronage. If you like our show, please support us on Patreon. You'll receive awesome perks like access to our private Discord, discounts and early access to our merch, first glimpse of our comics and other projects, and so much more. You can further support us and show off your prowess as an aircraft specialist by visiting our shop at cancelformaintenance.com. If you like classy or rugged watches, visit our affiliate Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX, the number 4MX to save 10% off your total order. If you have suggestions for the show or you'd like to be a guest on the show, send us a line on our contact us section at cancelformaintenance.com and we'll do what we can to get both your ideas and yourself on the show. Please support us on social media like Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, Instagram at CANX for Maintenance Podcast, or Twitter at CXMX Podcast. Please check out our new comic series on the Tapas app. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on our comics. Let us know what you think. Thank you all so much for your support and listenership, and we will catch you all next time.